with the difference between emotional versus physical hunger is licensed dietitian nutritionist Wendy Wesley. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to Bloom.
Thanks for having me.
All right, eating during the holidays. This is going to be a good one. We have been waiting for this. Before we jump into some of the tips that you have, a lot of people tend to stress eat during the holidays. What exactly is stress eating?
It is managing emotions by eating, and there's many things that we could go through and talk about different ways to distinguish between what is real hunger that's driven by hormones and what is eating that's driven by emotions, trying to tamp down emotions and feel better using food to do that.
Yeah, let's dive into that because I know you have something that will help us tell the difference between emotional and physical hunger. And I thought this was really interesting. There was a graphic that we had, and I thought it was really interesting, some of the points on here. Talk about some of these points.
Well, emotional hunger often comes on very, very quickly. You must eat right at this moment versus hormonal hunger, which is driven by true hunger and need to put fuel in the system, will come on gradually. I'm starting to get a little hungry. I think I should eat. It could also be delayed. If your friend says, hey, give me 15 minutes before we go to lunch, you can wait. But compare that to emotional hunger is you must eat right this minute. Everything falls to the wayside and you're looking for food. And that's a good way to tell the difference between emotional hunger and real hunger that's driven by hormones.
Yeah, and what about cravings? I know cravings can be good or bad.
Right. Emotional hunger often says you must eat this food right this minute, and it can be something like chocolate or chips or cookies or candies or cakes versus hormonal hunger that's driven by a need to put fuel in the system. Any kind of food will work. I could do a salad, I could do a sandwich, I could do a burger. I don't care, I'm just hungry. Let's just eat something. So that emotional hunger says it must be chocolate right this minute.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, I don't know, this has happened to me where when you're trying not to eat, you get a craving and you're like, I am not going to eat that chocolate bar. It just makes you want to eat it more. It's crazy.
Well, I also think that having a good environment, whether it's in your office or your home, just in case these emotions come on and you want to eat, having the house or the office loaded with good food can prevent a problem, a binge of some bad foods.
Yeah, that's a great, and I noticed you put these out here. We've got some healthy walnuts and some raisins.
Yeah.
But that's a great idea.
It is
to have something like that. So when you crave that chocolate, you're reaching for that instead.
Exactly. Or this apple. This apple might take you a long time to eat, whereas if you got an apple muffin, it could be gone in 15 seconds, where this apple could take you a little bit of time to munch through. So having these high fiber, high water, high color, nutrient-dense foods in your environment, just in case you want to eat, is a better strategy than loading the house full of lots of processed foods full of added sugar and refined flour.
That's a great idea. Don't even bring it into the house if you can avoid it. I
try
to live by that rule.
Yes.
Let's talk about controlling emotions because, with that emotional eating, how do we control our emotions?
One good thing to do is I ask my clients before we get together for our initial consultation is to track their food and the emotion that goes with the food for a week or 2 weeks, just using a journal, pen and paper, or if they want to use an app. It's very important to connect certain episodes of eating with emotions. And so when you can start to connect the dots, this afternoon I binged on cookies or whatever, and what was the precipitating event? Was it a bad email from my boss or an argument with a coworker? Or feelings of inadequacy or sadness or helplessness, hopelessness. Connecting those emotions to the event of eating can help you start to see patterns.
Yeah, and that is such a great idea because, when you're talking about all this right now, I think a lot of people don't realize how much their emotions are connected to what they eat.
I completely agree. I work with people every single day who are finally starting to the light bulb is going on and connecting this kind of food binging or this kind of eating patterns tied to emotions. And I always say people come to me for their stomach, and we often end up working on the brain.
Yeah, definitely. Before we go, you talked about the journal. I think is a great idea. Any other quick tips you can offer us to avoid not only overeating but maybe overindulging during the holidays?
Well, I mean, when you feel these emotions come up and you are driven to the kitchen, one thing I tell people to do is pick up the phone and call a trusted friend, a friend that's not going to tell you to do this or do that. Well, you shoulda. Well, you shoulda. Just someone who will listen to you, because often just kind of offloading the emotions, dumping the emotions, can just make you feel better, erase the emotions, and help you avoid turning to food to manage emotions. So these different tools, journaling, talking to a friend, getting into an exercise habit, replacing of eating with taking a walk or exercising. Those are great strategies to replace one with another.
Yeah, that is such great advice. Thank you so much. It is so great to have you on Bloom. We hope you have a safe and healthy holiday season.
You too.
Okay.
You too. Thank you.
Sure. And you can watch this story on our website, WFLA.com/Bloom. And before we go to the break, it is time for today's Bloom trivia question. Okay, which one of these sweet and savory foods is vegan? Oreos, gummy bears, or chips? We will have the surprising answer a little bit later on in the show.